Do feel the Lord has put in my heart, it's quite a famous passage, as many passages are, hopefully, in the Bible, if you read it. Genesis chapter 16, and the Lord laid it on my heart, I believe, yesterday, and Colleen asked me, what are you going to speak on? And I shared, and they said, well, that's what Rolene shared on, or some aspects, yeah. So she mentioned it on Tuesday, so those of you who have been all week, maybe the Lord wants to emphasize something in what she said as well. So it's Genesis chapter 16. It's a little bit of a gritty passage, so I'm going to read it. And it says this: Now Sarah, Abraham's wife, had borne him no children, but she had an Egyptian maidservant named Hagar. So she said to Abraham, "The Lord has kept me from having children. Go sleep with my maidservant. Perhaps I can build a family through her." Abraham agreed to what Sarah said. So after Abraham had been living in Canaan 10 years, Sarah, his wife, took her Egyptian maidservant Hagar and gave her to her husband to be his wife. He slept with Hagar, and she conceived. And when she knew she was pregnant, she began to despise her mistress. Then Sarah said to Abraham, "You are responsible for the wrong I'm suffering. I put my servant in your arms, and now that she shows she is pregnant, she despises me. May the Lord judge between you and me." "Your servant is in your hands," Abraham said. "Do with her whatever you think best." Then Sarah ill-treated Hagar, so she fled from her. EastEnders, there's no patch on this, I'm sorry. And the angel of the Lord, and this is where the turn is, the angel of the Lord himself, actually, found Hagar near a spring in the desert. It was a spring that is beside the road to Shur. And he said, "Hagar, servant of Sarah, where have you come from? Where are you going?" "I'm running away from my mistress, Sarah," she answered. Then the angel of the Lord told her, "Go back to your mistress, submit to her." The angel added, "I will so increase your descendants that they will be too numerous to count." And the angel of the Lord also said to her, "You're now with a child, and you will have a son. You shall name him Ishmael." Ishmael means God hears. "For the Lord has heard of your misery. He'll be a wild donkey of a man. He'll knock off the rough edges on everybody. His hand will be against everyone's hand against him. He will live in hostility towards all his brothers." But she gave this name to the Lord who spoke to her. Literally, "You are El Roi." That's what it says. "You are El Roi," which gets translated, "You are the God who sees me." For she said, "I've now seen the one who sees me." And another translation says, "Have I really seen God and remained alive after seeing him?" That's on a question. Have I really seen the Lord? And I'm still alive to see it. I like that. That's why the well was called Bir Lahai Roi. It's still there between Kadesh and Bered. That Bir Lahai Roi means the well of the living one who sees me. So Hagar bore Abraham a son, and Abraham gave the name Ishmael to the son she had born. Abraham was 86 years old when Hagar bore him Ishmael. So the second part is the exquisite ministry of the Lord to a desperate woman. But the first part is painful. The first part is difficult. I find it difficult to read it. I'm sure you found it difficult to listen to it. But that's life, isn't it? Sometimes it's just darn painful, just full of the most horrible things. And this is what all this happens to Abraham. I've been reading him of late. I've been quite fascinated by him. Maybe thought, because the New Testament calls him the father of our faith. If we believe as he does, we are his children. So Abraham, the father of our faith. I've sort of put him on a bit of a pedestal, for Abraham. Wow, what a guy. But sometimes he struggled. Sometimes he fell. Sometimes he didn't do things right. But he still had faith. He still pushed on, still struggled through, and grabbed hold of God with his faith. And if you are the same in all the struggles and turmoils and toils of life, you are a child of Abraham. God sees you in the same light. I'm so pleased with you. The Lord, Abraham believed God, put his trust in him, and it was credited to him as righteousness. You are right with me. You're my daughter. You're my son. Come to me. I put you right with myself. But Abraham clearly, was on a roller coaster, a serious roller coaster, wasn't he? He was in another land, and he was called to leave his country, his household. Go, because I'm going to bless you. I'm going to bless you in chapter 12 of Genesis, a few chapters earlier. I'm going to bless you, and you're going to be the father of many nations. You're going to be as numerous as the dust of the ground, as numerous as the stars of the sky. Wow, and all nations will be blessed through you. What a promise, eh? What a promise. Only one problem. His wife couldn't have children, and he was old. So how is this going to work? Well, isn't God a bit crazy at times? Can I say that reverently? He breaks into impossible situations. He says, well, it's not going to happen naturally. I am going to do a new thing. When it seems impossible, that's when I'm going to step in and do something. So all the glory will not be of you, it'll come to me. And that's what the Lord loves to do, to break into sometimes the most desperate and impossible situation. And so Abraham, on a roller coaster. Is this going to work? This is the promise he'd received 10 years earlier. And if you read chapters 14, he was brave. Remember the sort of kings came, Lot got kidnapped, and he was brave and he was valiant, and he went and rescued. So he was brave and a wonderful, and that's the stuff of films. He had a struggle with Lot and his flocks, remember? And he expressed generosity. Well, we can't all live together, all the flocks. You choose the part you want, and I'll go the other way. Just letting go. Generous. That's a wonderful trait, isn't it? Okay, I'm going to trust God. Yeah, he's promised me actually all of it, but you have what you want. God, I'm going to trust God. So that moment he was trusting God. But 10 years have gone by, and now he's struggling. And now he's seriously struggling. And it affects everyone around him. So Abraham is clearly struggling in his faith, in his walk with the Lord. He's had successes, and now it's difficult. Okay, what about Sarah in this passage? Well, she's struggling, isn't she? She's clearly struggling. What does she say in verse 2? God has kept me from having children. You know, we've heard the promise, years have gone by, and God has kept me. It's kind of, you can tell there's a bitterness, isn't there? There's kind of an anger in there. You know, so she devised this crazy plan. Well, I'll get my servant to sleep with my husband, and she'll be a wife too, and we'll create a plan. We'll work a plan. We'll force it. We'll force this promise to work somehow. You know, we'll do it in our own strength. You know, God doesn't seem to be showing up. Let's do something. So she does that. And the point of chapter 16 is there's no prayer. There's no asking God, is this right? Is this wrong? Yeah, that was actually the cultural norm that happened just to maintain the lineage and descendants. But there's no indication of prayer, no asking God. In other moments, you see Abraham building an altar and meeting with God and dialoguing with God. Here, there isn't anything. So something has gone wrong. So Hagar conceives, and now Hagar is despising Sarah. And what has Sarah said? You are responsible. You are responsible. You're just full of stuff going on inside for the wrong that I'm suffering. May God judge between you and me. You know, I don't think I'd like to have a coffee with her at this moment in time. So she wasn't coming to God. Yes, it's normal to struggle, normal to really go through it and really question and be angry. That's normal, part of life. But what do we do with it? The psalmists say, the example of the psalmist is, come to God and pour it all out just like it is. All your frustration. That's the great testimony of the psalmists. Yeah, there's so many. There's more of those kind of psalms than praise songs. God knows the stuff of which we are made. That's what Sarah could have done. Just brought all her frustration to the Lord. So she's struggling, and Abraham's struggling because he doesn't see how it's going to work. He feels he can't wait. So he also joins her in forcing this issue. Abraham and Sarah struggling. But spare a thought for Hagar, this poor girl, a servant girl brought from out of Egypt when they were living there, living with them. Not perfect. When she got pregnant, she said, "Meh." She despised, not perfect, but certainly taken advantage of. She was just vulnerable, no rights. Frankly, she was abused, and in our nothing, can't say less than that. She was just taken advantage of, and so she flees. She flees into the desert. Yeah, the desert of Shur, it says. Difficult place, isn't it? Difficult place. Where you feel alone. There's the heat. There's the lack of all the essentials. There's desperation. How are we going to survive? How are we going to get through all this? Hard to think of the future. Just survive for today. Yeah. Anyone felt in the desert? Anyone maybe going through that desert place at times? We go through it, don't we? Different moments in our lives. What life throws at us leaves us parched, as we began this service with. Difficult to think of the future. Just, how am I going to survive this day? And Jesus too. He went into the wilderness, didn't he? He himself has experienced this too. So we find Hagar in a difficult situation, felt she had to leave, ill-treated, and left, and we find her in the desert. But here we have the turning point, as I said, as I read it. Here we have, in this lowest of points, really for all three of them, for Hagar in particular, the lowest of points, we find the exquisite, the tender, the merciful, the outstretched hands of God coming to her. Yeah, not to these fathers and mothers of the faith, so-called, to her, the one who has been hurt. And then verse 7 simply starts off with this: the angel of the Lord found Hagar. He looked for her. He found her. And that's what the Lord does. He comes and finds us. The lost sheep, there's a picture in the small chapel. Brilliant picture. The Lord, when we feel lost in a desert place, he comes and he finds us. And he finds her near a spring. It literally means over, above, upon a spring. It's like she's just desperate. She's over this spring of water, and just parched soul, and more than anything, as well as physically being in this desert. But the angel of the Lord finds her. When we're in this place, he comes and he finds us. And then he says, Hagar, servant of Sarah, where have you come from? Where are you going? He knows her name. I think that's amazing, really. How many people are we on this planet? We're 7 billion, maybe more. He knows the name. He knew the name of this poor servant girl. He knows your name. He knows you. Servant of Sarah. He knows your context. Your names are important. Your names are important to God. Some of the names are really significant. I know we talked, I think, yesterday. There's a couple of Ruths in the congregation, I know. And it actually means friendship of God. It's friendship. And another meaning, it depends on the root in the Hebrew, vision, understanding. I remember Ruth in the Bible. She was a friend to Naomi. Friendship. That's what you're called to be. Friendship. Friends with God, friends with others. And other names. Look up what your name means. But ask God, what is your name too? Maybe he's got something else for you that he wants. He just loves to call you deep into your spirit. He knew Hagar's name. He knew her context. Servant of Sarai. He knew her situation. Then he says, then he asks her, where have you come from? Where are you going? It's questions. What's in your heart? Tell me. Where have you come from? God knew. But tell me. That's what Sarah didn't do. Tell me what you're going through. And that's what the Lord, that's how he sets us free. Tell me what you're going through. Tell me what you're going through. That's just such a release. For me, it's been the biggest release of my Christian life, to be able to say, just to pour it out to the Lord. Just to pour it out to the Lord. Other people can help. But if I don't do it with the Lord, he's the one that can take it and receive it and set me free. And then what happens there? The angel of the Lord says to her, well, go back to your mistress and submit to her. That's a bit of a strange advice. If there's been abuse, normally the advice is leave, go. The trust's been broken, leave. But somehow the Lord had another plan here, and he was going to give her strength, and he even said, go back. And it's interesting, it's the angel of the Lord. This is Yahweh. It's when he appeared to Moses, I am who I am. The angel of the Lord. This is Yahweh appearing to her. It's the I am who I am. I will be who I will be. You will find me faithful. Yeah. I will be Yahweh Jireh, the one who provides, literally, the one I will see to it. All that Yahweh, the God of the Old Testament is, she was saying, I will be with you. You will find me faithful. You will find me present. You will find me. I will bring Yahweh Rapha. I will be the one who heals you. He was instilling in her courage. Perfect love casts out all fear. Really saying, don't be afraid. My presence will go with you. And so he reveals Yahweh to a non-Israelite, to a girl, to a servant girl in a desert. How about that? Isn't that the tender-heartedness of God? You feel you're the only one, no one cares. That's the one God goes to. And he says, here I am, Yahweh, with you. And not only that, it's just so tender in so many ways. I will so increase your descendants. I have a future for you, a plan to bless you, to give you a hope and a future. You will have descendants. You're not alone. It's not the end of the road. You will have descendants, and they will become great nations too. And you shall name the one with whom you're pregnant Ishmael. Ishmael. It's like marking on her. Ishmael means, as I said, God who hears. I heard you. I heard you in your misery, in your turmoil. I'm the one who hears. Isn't that lovely? God hears you. You pour out your heart to him. He hears you. And so much so, the Lord was going to mark that Hagar was never going to forget as Ishmael grew up. Ishmael, come here. Ishmael, God, come here. God who hears, come here. She was never going to forget that she had an experience of the one who hears, who heard her like no one else. Isn't that so beautiful? And not only that, she gave this name to the Lord who spoke to her. You are El Roi, the one not only who hears me, who sees me. Isn't that so beautiful? He sees us when nothing escapes him. He hears and he sees. And so she's given courage to go back. Do you need courage afresh when you go your separate ways? Do you need courage? Do you need to know the truth of this? There's Yahweh with you. Yahweh, I am who I am. I will be who I will be. I'm the one who hears. I'm the one who sees. I'm the one who comes to you in a desert place, who gives you water to your parched soul. I'm always there. You can never run from me. Psalm 139. You can run to the farthest parts of the earth. You will not go away. I hem you in. I hem you in with my love. And so she goes back, and Hagar bears Abraham a son, and Abraham gives the name Ishmael. It's like somehow something changes. She is welcomed. She says, I need to call him Ishmael. Abraham says, okay. There's a change. There is a change. Okay, there's other problems later if you read on, but for now, the Lord's helped and changed even Abraham's heart. So simply, Genesis chapter 16, as you spend some time here, as some of you leave after a few days here, on this journey of faith, in this roller coaster of faith sometimes are we like Abraham? We struggle to wait. We want it all to happen now. Maybe I need to force the issue a bit. Can we wait? That's part of faith, waiting. Be still and know that I'm God. What do you say, Ruth? Wait. Sometimes there's a waiting. Are we like Sarah? Sometimes we're like that, aren't we? Just rah, 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 rah. It's your fault. It's you, God. God's not doing this for me, and it's your fault. And we accuse human folks around us. Are we like Sarah sometimes in the desert place? We're invited to come. He hears us. He sees us. Or are we like Hagar? Sometimes we're like Hagar, aren't we? We're just, Lord, I just collapse in this well. I don't know where the water's, how I'm going to be fed and nourished, but you come. The Lord who sees, the Lord who knows your name, your situation. Got a plan for you, wants to bless you. You're not alone. You're not alone. Going with you, even back to that difficult place. I'm going with you, going with you. So may the Lord bless you as we come and take bread and wine. May it be food deep in the depth of our souls, food or even for the journey. Lord, I reach out my hand. Maybe I'm a bit parched today. I just need you. Lord, would you feed me today? Just what I need. You're the one who hears me. You're the one who sees me. So Lord, would you bless your people? You're the same God. You're this God. Lord, in the extreme difficulties of life, you are present and you meet with us. So come meet with us, Lord, please. Without you, who have we? You have the words of eternal